Welcome to my war, Project Requiem. In this video, or video series, I'm going to pick a very difficult song and I'm going to try to cover it, but instead of just presenting the ready-made cover, I'm going to document the whole process of learning the song, and I'm going to pick something that is very difficult for me, way out of my comfort zone, not something that is just typical for my playing style, while hopefully also fulfilling a few other goals at the same time. So why do I call it My War? I got the idea from a series of skateboarder videos where they pick a super hardcore challenge or a trick they want to do, and they document the entire process. So even if it takes them many days, many weeks or many months, they record the entire process and then make it into a collage video, I guess. So I wanted to choose what is, in my opinion, the most underrated release of the Icelandic metal scene, which is an EP that was released back in 2006. It's a one-song EP split into 3 movements, and it's 15 minutes long. Let me set the scene. We are in the early 2000s. YouTube isn't a thing. We're talking about a death metal release here, and there are no death metal bands in Iceland active, apart from maybe a handful that are playing either old school death metal or perhaps severed chords, so technical but nothing close to being hyper fast, hyper technical, polyrhythmical, advanced, stuff. You couldn't go to a show to just watch someone like John Longstreth do his magic and ask him for tips after the show. You had to download horrible, grainy videos from some forum, and you were hoping that it wasn't a virus for your computer, and then we would share it amongst ourselves. I was just getting onto the scene there, so I'm just telling you this because the drummer that I'm trying to cover is an insanely dedicated guy, and at the time of the release of this EP he was 23. So the name of the EP / the song is called The Requiem by the Icelandic band Momentum. Momentum had some members from an earlier band that was purely black metal called Myrk, which is cited as a huge influence for some members of the later Icelandic black metal scene. A few of those members went on to form a death metal band. There is only one live video from that band at that time, where they're not playing as technical of a song as The Requiem. You could note that the speed, the single-footed blast beats of the drummer, this was all completely brand new. You could also notice that this was a support show for Amon Amarth. Look at how tiny the venue is. Amon Amarth today play only stadium-sized venues. I was at this concert. It was my first ever concert that I went to see extreme metal. The EP is insanely technical. It is completely unedited. So what you hear is exactly how it was recorded. So drum editing didn't really take foot in Iceland until a few years later. I would say when my band Beneath recorded our first EP in 2009 called Hollow Empty Void. That's probably the first time that a drummer records something and then you just make select all and snap to grid, which we did at that time. But when Momentum recorded The Requiem, there was nothing like that, and they recorded it with a producer that has no knowledge of extreme metal really. It's like a pop rock producer. And the EP was completely overlooked. No metal bands were noticed from Iceland in 2006 except for Solstafir, and they were only noticed outside of Iceland when they really stopped playing extreme music and started playing whatever they've been playing for the last 20 years. Synthwave? I'm not sure. 10 years later, literal dog shit would get attention here just for being Icelandic because of the heavy popularity of the black metal scene. And I wish The Requiem would have been released then, because especially the drumming is incredible. It is so technical, it is insane. Alright, I think this is enough for introduction. Let's just delve into the first movement of the Requiem. So the very first part of the first song is a 230 beats per minute 16th double bass with a simple pattern on top. And the simple pattern goes something like this, slowed down. A little bit more speed. And I'm gonna play it here with double strokes because as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm still trying to master swivels, and I wanna let you hear it as it's supposed to sound, because when I do my first attempt later on, it's gonna be dog shit compared. And hopefully at the end of this long video series, I'll hopefully be tighter with my single stroke swivel technique. But just to be clear, I'm going to be very vulnerable in this video series. I've released plenty of covers on my YouTube channel which all sound tight and they sound great. Completely unedited, mind you. I never quantize my videos or touch them at all. But when you see me upload something, and it's always one take, but it's usually take number 55 after days of grinding the song until I know it by heart, and I haven't picked a song that is so far out of my comfort zone as this one before. So you're gonna see me do a lot of mistakes, you're gonna see me play very untight. I'm not gonna hide any of it. I'm playing with triggers on my bass drum as well, so you're gonna hear every little detail. But anyway, here it goes with double strokes, just so you can hear what the first riff of the song is supposed to sound like. Now, the second riff, I don't even know how to describe it. So it's a 4x4 beat, obviously, but it's, I don't know if you would call it 16th triplets on the bass drum, but on top he's playing an 8th note triplet pattern with an accentuation on the offbeat. It's already a little bit tricky, nothing insane, but we are just getting started here. The entire album is loaded with insane beats and things. You're just gonna see. But alright, here goes the second riff slowly. And the third riff of the song, which is the last riff that I'm gonna try to attempt today, simply because the fourth one is so much more difficult that it's gonna take me literally weeks to even try to attempt it. The third riff is a backbeat on snare and hi-hat with 16 parts single strokes on the bass drum, but at every repetition of the riff it ends with a very strange pattern that I've only seen two other people use on an album before, or at least live, which is Derek Roddy and John Longstreth. And this is where you alternate between hand and foot very fast, 16 notes. Derek Roddy famously used it on one of the Hate Eternal albums, I can't remember which one. There's a live video of him doing it, I think. But here on the Requiem, Christian Einar does it between snare and bass drum, and the bass drum is on the offbeat. Just an insane part to write into a song at 230 BPM, alternating between hand and foot. I don't know if he did it between right hand and left foot or whatever. I do it between left hand and left foot, and as you will see, it's super difficult, and I can't get it tight yet. Hopefully later in the series. For the fourth riff of the album, if you have heard of Bleed by Meshuggah, this guy was playing the same pattern 2 years earlier on an Icelandic release, but with an impressive hand pattern on top of it, accentuating the offbeat on the splash cymbals. It's insane, and he was 22 when he wrote it, 23 when he recorded it. Nobody's heard of this, and it's just an incredible part. Here is footage of me attempting it. Just joking, I'm not gonna attempt it for another few weeks, Jesus Christ. Alright, so let's try to play through these first 3 riffs together. Alright, so that's it for this first episode. There will be plenty more to come. We have just started with the first few percentages of the entire song. My goal with this project is split into a few parts. My first and foremost goal is obviously to challenge myself, do something new, not just straight blast beats like always. Another part of the whole goal is to expose this EP to the world. Nobody has heard of it outside of Iceland, and shamefully few have heard of it here in Iceland, even people that know the band, because they changed their direction drastically after this EP. I know many drummers, younger generation especially, that have never heard this, and I wanted to show what was the standard that we held ourselves to when my scene was, starting. I was 16, 17 when this was released, and we all thought like, oh my god, this is so fucking impressive, we gotta try to play like that. And 19 years later, this is still the benchmark that I'm pursuing. So younger drummers in Iceland who have only heard the dissonant black metal scene, which is a great benchmark when it comes to creativity, they need to know that there are also insane benchmarks in terms of mastering the instrument that we have here in Iceland. It's not just mid-tempo and easy going, even though that works very well often, but we have to strive to try to catch up with this fucking insane guy from 2006. So I don't think I'm gonna have it longer. This is already probably way too long. If you're still watching, you're a trooper. I will continue. I'm gonna try to challenge myself to get this song done in, let's say, 6 months. And I think I'm not being generous with myself, because it is so fucking hard. The riffs to come are way harder, the drumming is insane. So hopefully in 2 or 3 weeks I'll upload the next segment. But really, it just depends on if I can even get through the next riff. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Go check out the band on Bandcamp, buy the EP, and talk to me in the comments. Let me know what you think.